Hello everyone, this is your friend Shinobi Nexus 2.0. We are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto heard Hinata's confession and loved her before the war part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. A blonde-haired shinobi shuffled slowly through the forest, his exhaustion finally making its presence known. He leaned up against a tree, breathing heavily, as his knees started to give out. His fight with the Akatsuki member Pain had been the hardest of his life, and it showed. Naruto Uzumaki refused to give in, his relentless determination keeping him on his feet. He had left someone in the remains of the village, someone very precious. Hinata Hyuga had confessed her love to him, right before she had been cut down by Pain. He needed to make sure she was okay. Even though he had sensed her chakra while in sage mode, he didn't know if she was still alive. The blonde made it a few more feet before his legs finally gave out. Even though he had a nearly inexhaustible supply of chakra, he was running on fumes, and didn't have the strength to hold himself up any longer. He finally gave in to the coming darkness, unable to continue onward. Naruto's forward movement was halted as a silver-haired Jonin caught him. Kakashi Hatake, who was thought to have died during Pain's assault, had arrived. The Jonin had been revived by Pain's Rinne rebirth technique, and had immediately set off after his young student. Using his Sharingan to track him, Kakashi had arrived just in time to stop the young man from collapsing. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said tiredly. He was overjoyed to find his teacher alive, but he was too drained to even show it. Stay still, I'll carry you. Kakashi said softly. His eyes shifted into its usual smile, since his mask covered the lower half of his face. He positioned his student on his back, before setting off at a slow walk. Naruto simply settled himself on his teacher's back, grateful for the opportunity to rest. Darkness tugged at the edges of his vision, but he refused to let himself sleep, the fate of the Hyuga heiress keeping him awake. Kakashi smiled over his shoulder at the young man, marveling at the growth his student had undergone. Once a talentless prankster that everyone saw as a monster, he was now a hero. Kakashi had struggled to destroy one of Pain's bodies, while Naruto had destroyed all 6, all of them at the same time. There was no doubt in Kakashi's mind that Naruto had surpassed him, and one day, even his father. Kakashi shook his head in wonder at the last thought. As strong as Naruto was, he was still damn heavy, and the extra weight made Kakashi push on, determined to reach the ruins of the Leaf Village soon. Oh. A sea of people waited outside the ruins of the Leaf Village. Lady Katsuyu, the Hokage Tsunade's summon, had informed them that Naruto was on his way back, and every single one of them wanted to greet their hero in person. With the Rinne rebirth technique resurrecting everyone who had perished, and healing their wounds, there was nothing to stop them. A massive cry rose from the throat of the assembled people as soon as they caught sight of Kakashi and Naruto. Each and every one of them shouted out their congratulations and thanks, cheering for the young blonde. They've been waiting for your return, Kakashi explained to his student, who wore a puzzled look on his face. Letting him off his back, Kakashi turned to Naruto. You did very well, Naruto, he praised, his voice filled with warmth and pride. Naruto nodded dumbly, and although he was still tired, his energy had somewhat returned during their walk back. Despite Kakashi's earlier explanation, he still had no clue what was going on. What's this? He asked of no one in particular. His collar moved, then stretched as the slug that had been inside his jacket made her way out.
I've already relayed exactly what transpired between you and Pain to the villagers. Katsuyu explained. She did not wait to receive a response, disappearing in a cloud of smoke, along with her clones.
Several children broke away from the crowd, all running towards Naruto, each one eager to ask him about his exploits. Naruto found himself surrounded, and he was bounced back and forth as the kids bombarded him with questions and attempted to get close. Hey, Cut it out, would ya? Naruto yelled in protest, his broken and beaten body unable to handle the strain. The children clung to him stubbornly, with two latching on to the ends of his sleeves. Naruto's attention was quickly stolen as a female shinobi walked up to him. Sakura Haruno simply stood near Naruto, waiting to be acknowledged. Her pink hair shrouded her face, and she appeared to be angry with him. Naruto was oblivious to it all, and simply greeted her casually.
"Hey Sakura, what's up?" he said, still trying to retrieve his arms from the kids.
"You're just so reckless," she shouted, stepping forward and bringing her fist forward to connect with the top of Naruto's head, knocking him towards the ground and eliciting a small yelp from him. Before he fell downward, Sakura stepped forward and caught him in a tight hug. "Thank you," she whispered as she held him. She had been so worried for her teammate, and was happy that he was alive and well. Naruto simply accepted the embrace, nearly returning it nor pulling back from it. He had long admired Sakura, and while he thought he had loved her, recent events had began to change his mind. However, Naruto had been too distracted by the villagers' greeting to remember Hinata, so he simply thought he didn't have his crush on her anymore. "Geez Sakura, did you really have to hit me?" Naruto whined, rubbing the back of his head, after she released him from the hug. He blanched as she gave him a death glare, before holding his hands up in front of him. I'm just kidding Sakura," he said quickly, wary of her wrath. Sakura gave him a neutral look before she laughed at his terror. "Hey wait, that's not funny," Naruto shouted while pointing at her and waving his other hand in the air rapidly. His tantrum was interrupted quickly as the rest of his friends came forward to greet him. "Excellent work Naruto. You are the very definition of youthful power," the green spandex-clad ninja Rock Lee exclaimed, striking his favorite pose. All of his other friends either sighed or laughed at his enthusiasm while they all moved forward to greet the young ninja. "Great work Naruto." Kiba slapped him on the back, with Akamaru barking in agreement. The Inuzuka had respected Naruto ever since he had lost to him in the Chunin exams, and his admiration only continued to grow. His teammate Shino echoed the sentiment, not one for lengthy conversation. "Well, you pulled it off pal," Shikamaru said, supported by Choji, who simply nodded in agreement. "Besides, it would have been a real drag if you hadn't," he drawled, unable to keep a smile from his face. The third member of the Ino Shika-cho formation, Ino, simply looked at him dreamily, before remembering who he was. Neji simply stepped forward and stuck out his hand. "You are an incredible shinobi, Naruto. You have saved the village and everyone in it. We all owe you a debt we can never repay." Naruto simply shook his hand, not understanding a word of what he had just said. Sure, no problem Neji," he said sheepishly, embarrassed at the attention. Neji shook his head, determined to make Naruto realize the immensity of his actions. "No Naruto, it is a problem. Pain had brought the village to its knees, and would have killed everyone if you hadn't stepped in. For that, you have my gratitude." Neji raised his hand, stepping back and bowing deeply to Naruto. "You also have my personal gratitude for saving Lady Hinata." At the mention of her name, Naruto's eyes widened. He wanted to ask where she was, if she was okay, but for the first time in his life, Naruto Uzumaki was speechless. The moment was lost, however, as he was swarmed by all the members of the Konoha 11 who were still on their feet, and then he was hoisted into the air. As he was tossed into the air in celebration, a shy girl watched from afar. Hinata Hyuga hung back, tears of happiness rolling down her face as she saw that the love of her life was alive and well. Despite learning that Naruto was fine and had destroyed the final body of Pain, she was still worried for his safety when Lady Katsuyu had told them that he was going to confront the real Pain alone. Flashback. "Good news everyone. Naruto has defeated the final Pain," Lady Katsuyu informed them, a happy note in her voice. "Yes. Just leave it to Naruto," Rock Lee exclaimed, smacking his fist into his open palm. At the news, Hinata began to cry, her emotions out of control. Such good news. Where is Naruto now? Might Guy, the team leader and spitting image of Roic Lee, asked. He's on his way to confront the real pain, Katsuyu stated. At the news, everyone looked up in surprise, worried for his safety. What? Why would he do something so reckless? Neji asked. Doesn't he realize that he's in danger? Guy-sensei, we have to go help Naruto. Wait. Naruto said that he wanted to do this alone. Katsuyu said. I don't care. He's done enough alone. Neji shouted. Lee, Guy, and their teammate Tenten all chorused their agreement. Lady Katsuyu led us to Naruto. End flashback. She watched happily as Naruto finally found the acceptance he had been craving his entire life. The look of pure joy on his face warmed her heart, and she watched as he was set down. For so long she had admired him, and not 1 hour ago she had confessed her feelings for him. Hinata wondered if he even remembered her confession, and if he did, if he had any feelings for her. Her question would soon be answered. As soon as Naruto was let down, he spotted the Hyuga heiress. A million emotions ran through his mind, but one was far more prominent than the rest: anger. As everyone's attention was drawn by Kakashi and the rest of the Jonin, he pushed his way through the crowd towards Hinata. Tenten, who had noticed Naruto's movement, quietly spread the word to all of their friends, and moved to surround Naruto and Hinata, giving them some space. Hinata had been hoping that Naruto would notice her, but as soon as he started moving towards her, she began to panic. Why did she have to confess like that? Why couldn't she have just kept her mouth shut? She was worried about the look in his eyes, but she put a smile on her face anyway. Hello Naruto. Hinata inwardly cursed her stutter, wishing she could just speak normally. I'm glad you're okay. Naruto stopped in front of her, and the moment his eyes met hers, he felt a strange feeling in his stomach and chest, before being overwhelmed by anger. He grabbed her upper arms, and looked her deep in the eyes. Don't ever do something like that again, he hissed, his rage threatening to boil over. Hinata felt a crushing sadness as he said those words. She was certain that he hated her for what she had done, and that was what he was angry about. She cursed herself for being so weak, and for doing something stupid like saying she loved him. Tears began to fall as she realized that he would never return her feelings. As Hinata began to cry, all of Naruto's anger simply melted away. He had no idea that she would react this strongly, and he couldn't help himself. All he wanted to do was comfort her, and explain why he had been so mad. He pulled her close to him, throwing his arms around her neck, much to her surprise. Hinata's tears instantly stopped as Naruto hugged her. She wondered why he had changed his mind so suddenly, and why he was embracing her. The last thought caused a blush to spread on her cheeks, which instantly stopped as she felt a wetness on her shoulder. Naruto, what's wrong? She asked, concern taking over. I'm so sorry Hinata, he mumbled into her ear. I wasn't strong enough to protect you, and you nearly died saving me. And now I made you cry, he said guiltily. It's okay Naruto, she said soothingly. I understand. No, you don't, Naruto responded softly, still holding her tightly. I was angry at you because of what you said. When you said that you loved me, I was so happy. Even though we were in the middle of a fight, I was happy. You are the first person to ever say that, and then I thought you were taken away from me. I'm so sorry I hurt you Naruto. Hinata's eyes misted over. She hadn't meant to cause him any pain, but she had, and she needed to fix it. But I said I wouldn't let him hurt you, and that. I remember Hinata, Naruto assured her, pulling out of the hug. I heard you. Naruto grinned at her, and Hinata felt her heart melt. His grin always had that effect on her, and she smiled back, happy that they could still be friends. Do you want to talk about it? Naruto asked, his expression serious. Hinata went to nod, but she noticed something over Naruto's shoulder. Ino was grinning at her, making motions to urge her on. Hinata looked around quickly, noticing all of their friends gathered around. Her face turned scarlet, and with a small eep, she promptly fainted. Oh 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 oh. The sun was setting over the remains of the Leaf Village as the villagers bustled about setting up a temporary camp. Naruto simply watched from the top of the wall, still too tired from earlier to help. He lay back down, staring up at the sky as he returned his thoughts to Hinata. Flashback. After Hinata had passed out, Naruto had caught her before she hit the ground. He wanted to make sure she was okay, but Sakura, Tenten, and Ino had whisked her away so they could have some girl talk. As he watched them walk away, he turned to the guys of their group. Each one of the males had had a different reaction to his moment with Hinata, ranging from disinterested to outright terrifying. All this emotional stuff is such a drag, Shikamaru drawled. His arm was still slung around Choji, who was helping the Nara heir walk due to his broken leg. Come on Choji, let's go find our dads. As the twosome walked off, Lee bounded up to Naruto. Naruto, you and Hinata simply glow with the fire of youth. He exclaimed, accenting his statement with a thumbs up. I regret that I must go now. Guy-sensei and I must do our punishment for failing to aid you. With that, the bowl-cut ninja ran off to find his older clone. Naruto grinned at the green ninja's enthusiasm before turning to confront a terrifying sight. Neji, Shino, Kiba, and Akamaru glared at him as if he had just insulted their mothers. Hey guys, what is it? Naruto asked nervously, fidgeting under their intense gaze. You made Hinata cry, Shino stated, a hard edge to his monotone voice. Yeah, I didn't really mean to. I just kinda. Naruto tried to explain himself, but was silenced by Neji activating his Byakugan. Tell me the truth. I will be able to know if you are lying. Neji said calmly. Was it your intention to make Lady Hinata cry? No. Of course not. I was just. Naruto stuttered out, slowly becoming more and more terrified, before being silenced by Neji's hand. Very well. I know that you are telling the truth. However, Neji said, dropping his voice and leaning in closely along with Shino and Kiba, if you make Lady Hinata cry again, we will be forced to kill you. Neji said matter-of-factly, his demeanor all the more terrifying because of it. Naruto gulped and nodded as Akamaru and Kiba punctuated his sentence with deep growls. The three of them left, with Neji going after Hinata, and Kiba and Shino off in search of their families. Naruto let out a shaky breath. Despite the fact that he knew he could easily take the three of them in a fight, they still terrified him. Shrugging it off, Naruto went off to find Tsunade or Kakashi to ask what they wanted. Finding out that Tsunade was in a coma, Naruto was saddened at first, but upon hearing that she would be fine if she woke up, he became convinced that she would be okay in time. Asking Kakashi what he should be doing, he was given the week off. Naruto had protested at first, but when Kakashi had calmly informed him that he could give him some D-rank missions, he immediately shut his mouth and thanked him for the week off. End flashback. Naruto sighed again as he thought of Hinata. After she had confessed, all of her weird behavior in the past suddenly clicked into place. The way she had always blushed and stuttered around him, the way she fainted when he got close. Even all the times she had cooked for him suddenly made sense to the young shinobi. Every time he thought back to those moments, her infatuation with him had never been more obvious. Agonizing guilt gripped him as he recalled how he had ignored her and always chased after Sakura. This new information helped him look at her in a new light. Hinata was the kindest, most generous, and forgiving person he knew. He also thought, surprised with himself, that she was really cute. She had also developed really well, especially around her chest. Naruto smacked his head on the wall, trying to dispel the perverted thoughts. He felt dirty even thinking something like that about Hinata, which was odd. He never had a problem with his pervy thoughts about Sakura, but Hinata was just so innocent looking. Try as he might, Naruto was still unable to get the thoughts out of his head, turning scarlet as he remembered her pressing against him during their hug. Sighing in defeat at his perverted mind, Naruto got up and stretched, jumping off the wall into the trees to try and take his mind off of things. But no matter what he did, his thoughts always returned to Hinata. Admitting defeat, he landed on the next tree, then turned back to the camp, intending to look for her. Naruto walked towards the medical tents, figuring she was still recovering from her injuries. He spotted her midnight blue hair at the entrance to one of the tents. A nurse was speaking with her, before making her sign something on her clipboard. A sly grin crossed his face, and he snuck up on her as she exited the tent. "I got you," he shouted as he grabbed her from behind. Unfortunately for him, Hinata is a trained fighter, and her instincts kicked in. Slipping out of his grip, she smashed Naruto's nose with her palm, knocking him onto his butt. "Naruto!" Hinata shouted, embarrassed by her actions and concerned for him. "Are you okay?" "I'm so sorry," she said as she knelt down beside him. "Nah, it's fine, Hinata." He grinned as he looked at her. "I guess I kinda deserved that for making you cry earlier." "It's okay, Naruto, I know you didn't mean to," Hinata said softly as she applied medical ninjutsu to his nose. Naruto blushed slightly at the contact, and when she was finished he looked up at her, staring into her lavender eyes. Yeah, right," he stammered, looking away as his blush darkened. Hinata blushed at the same time, and they both stood up and stared at the ground awkwardly. Naruto broke the silence after a full minute. Hinata, I was wondering, if you wanted to talk about, what you said?" he queried hopefully, wondering if she was mad at him for the way he had shouted. I don't know," Hinata said softly, afraid of what his response might be. Even though he had been so concerned about her, her immediate thought was that he was going to reject. Naruto's face fell. "Oh," he said dejectedly, thinking her hesitation meant that she didn't want to see him. He assumed that she didn't want to see him because of he had been angry at her for trying to save him, and for making her cry. "I guess I'll see you around then," he said, turning to walk away. Hinata's eyes widened as he turned to walk away. "No, wait," she shouted, grabbing his hand. Naruto looked back at her in surprise, then slowly smiled at her. "She's just nervous," he realized as a blush spread across her face. "Right then, let's go," he shouted as he gripped her hand back and led her off into the forest. They continued walking, Hinata's face turning an even deeper shade of red as Naruto continued to hold her hand. The pair walked for several minutes until Naruto found a tree he liked. Then, grabbing Hinata by the waist, he jumped up into the tree. She let out a small squeak and became as red as a cherry at the contact. Naruto let go once they were on the branch, and even though she was relieved that she could get rid of her blush, a part of her missed the contact. Naruto sat down, dangling his legs over the side, and he gestured for Hinata to do the same. She sat down slowly, only a few inches away from him, a comfortable silence coming over them as they sat there for a few moments. Hinata, unable to deal with all her thoughts on what he might be thinking, spoke first. Naruto, what did you want to talk about?" she said as she looked at his face. "I just wanted to talk to you about what you said with pain, and what happened after," he said, a blush starting to creep into his face. "She looks really cute," he thought as she looked into his eyes with her own. Hinata's blush refused to go away as she looked into his eyes. "Oh, okay. What do you want to talk about it for?" she managed to get out, inwardly cursing her stutter. Naruto's blush faded as he looked at her seriously. "Hinata, I want to know if you meant what you said," he said, not looking anywhere but her eyes. Hinata was slightly hurt that he would ask her that, but then she remembered his childhood. He never had anyone to love him. The only thing he received from others was contempt and hatred. Her gaze softened, and she managed to speak without a stutter. "I meant it, Naruto, every single word," she said softly. Naruto returned her gaze, and an indescribable joy filled his heart. No one had ever told him that they loved him, and he was happy that someone did love him. At the same time, though, he tried to figure out his own feelings for her. He didn't know what love actually was, so he didn't know if he just cared for her as a friend, or as something more. Thanks, Hinata. But, he trailed off, unsure what to say next. It's okay, Naruto, I understand if you don't love me back. I just wanted you to know. She said. Hinata meant every word of it, she really did. She just wanted him to be happy, although a small part of her ached at the thought of not being with him. Naruto frowned at her words. Hinata, I don't know what love is. Because, well, you know, she nodded her understanding, so he didn't finish the sentence. I'm not sure what I feel for you, Hinata. But I want to find out. So, I was wondering if you, might want to, talk to each other more. He asked, his expression hopeful. Hinata smiled at him, and her blush disappeared completely. I would like that, Naruto. She said, grabbing his hand in hers. Naruto grinned at her, his eyes lighting up. That sounds great, Hinata. How about we go get some ramen right now? Old man Tuki set up a tent where he still cooks. At the thought of ramen, his mouth started to water. Hinata giggled before nodding, and the two of them dropped off the tree branch before walking back to the tents in the gathering darkness, hands still intertwined. Oh. Nearby, three girls sat together and AWWWED, at the two walking back to camp. Sakura, Ino, and Tenten were hiding in the bushes right under the tree branch where Hinata and Naruto had been sitting. That was so cute, wasn't it? Tenten gushed, glad that she had seen the two of them walking into the forest. As soon as she had spotted the duo, she had dragged Sakura and Ino with her to spy on them. It really was. Ino declared. I never knew Naruto could be so deep. That's because you're too shallow to see it, Ino pig. Sakura said in Naruto's defense. Just because he acts like an idiot most of the time doesn't mean he's shallow like you. What was that billboard, brow? Ino yelled in Sakura's face. You heard me, pig. Sakura shouted right back. Tenten just sighed at their bickering, before she knocked them both on the head. As they held their heads in between their hands, she grabbed them both by the collars and started dragging them back to camp. Ignoring their continuing argument, she thought about how great it was for Hinata, and that she had finally confessed. She and Naruto looked so cute together, and she definitely wanted to keep an eye on them. Naruto groaned at the soft light that filtered through the roof of his tent, pulling his blanket up around his head. Just 5 more minutes, he thought, only one thing on his mind, more sleep. Rolling away from the light, he rubbed his before opening them slightly. Hey, Kakashi said with his usual disinterested voice, his eye smiling. Ah, Naruto screamed as he jumped away from Kakashi. What the hell are you doing, Kakashi-sensei? Waking you up, of course, Kakashi stated as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. We've got a lot of work to do, and it has to start before noon. After all, your little break is over now, isn't it? Naruto frowned, recalling that he had been given the week off after his battle with pain. Sighing, he got up and walked over to his pack before pulling out his clothes. He looked over at Kakashi, who was reading his usual perverted books. Kakashi-sensei, get out! He shouted as he threw the nearest pebble he could find. Kakashi caught it without looking away from his book, then smiled at Naruto before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Grumbling something about perverted teachers, Naruto put on his usual orange and black outfit before stepping outside. Stretching his hands over his head, Naruto put his usual grin on before heading off. All right, he shouted as he ran through the camp, let's get to work. As Naruto ran through the villagers, each one of them turned and smiled as he raced past. Gone were the usual looks of suspicion and hatred, replaced by looks of admiration and happiness because of his actions. Naruto, dense as ever, didn't even notice as he exited the camp. He jumped into the trees, traveling through the canopy for a short distance before he reached the remains of the Hidden Leaf village. It had been a busy week for the shinobi of the leaf. The first 2 days were spent filling in the massive crater. Every ninja who had an affinity for Earth style had been called upon, and the crater had been filled in record time. It also helped that Gara of the Desert Sand, K's Cage of the village hidden in the sand, had sent supplies and people to help with the project. As soon as the crater had been filled, the normal villagers and the rest of the ninja had begun to clear the rubble. While this was going on, Captain Yamato, with his unique wood style, had rebuilt the hospital in just under a day. All of the wounded were then placed inside, drastically increased their chances of recovery. This freed up some of the medical volunteers, and they also started clearing the rubble. Naruto smiled at the sight of the nearly cleared area behind the walls. The work was nearly finished, and the reconstruction efforts could begin in earnest. Placing his hands in his favorite seal, Naruto shouted, "Shadow Clone Jutsu." Instantly 100 other Narutos appeared in a puff of smoke. They all jumped down and got to work clearing the rubble. 1294. Hinata whispered, deactivating her Byakugan. Again. She sighed as she looked around her hospital room, bored. After she had had one of the best nights of her life with Naruto, Sakura had found her and dragged her to the medical tent, insisting on giving her an examination. After finding out that Hinata had severe exhaustion, and that her internal injuries were still healing, she had put the Hyuga heiress under house arrest, making her stay in her tent and then the hospital, once it was completed. Hinata smiled at the thought of her night with Naruto. They had eaten at the temporary Ichiraku, then wandered around the camp, talking and laughing together. As it became late, Naruto had walked Hinata to the Hyuga tents, before pulling her into a hug. She nearly passed out, but thankfully she managed to stay conscious. Bidding her crush good night, she entered her tent to find Sakura waiting for her. I wish he would come see me again, Hinata thought with a tinge of sadness. She hadn't seen Naruto since that night. Maybe he doesn't want to. As to get rid of her doubts, Naruto tapped on the window, his trademark grin stuck on his face. Hinata's face lit up, and she carefully got up and opened the window. Hey Hinata, how are you? Naruto asked, a slight bit of concern in his voice. Sakura told me that you were here, are you hurt? No Naruto, I'm fine. She said as she smiled at the concern he held for her. I'm just a little tired, so Sakura told me I had to stay here for a while. Good. When do you get out? He asked curiously. Tomorrow I think, Hinata stammered, blushing at the attention he was giving her. Great. Naruto said enthusiastically. Well, since, you get out tomorrow, I was wondering if you, wanted to, he trailed off, blushing profusely. Hinata, her own blush reddening, twiddled her fingers. What is it, Naruto? I want to. Naruto took a deep breath, then looked right in her eyes. Would like to walk with me? Hinata nearly fainted as all the blood in her body rushed to her face. Would like that Naruto, she managed between shaky breaths. Naruto's blush receded slightly, and his face stretched due to the huge grin he wore. That's great Hinata, so what time do you get out? Hinata, still blushing intensely, did her best to burn a hole in the ground with her stare. She wanted to answer him, but she didn't trust her voice. Naruto, seeing the redness in her features, smiled warmly at her embarrassment. Hinata. She managed to look up at the tone of Naruto's voice, and when she saw his small but warm smile her embarrassment melted away, along with her heart. She smiled back at him, filled with a confidence only he could bring out of her. I get released tomorrow at 2 o'clock, Hinata said calmly, still smiling at him. Okay Hinata, I'll see you then. Naruto said as he moved towards the window. Smiling back at her, he leapt into the night, excited for their time tomorrow. Hinata just stared at the spot where he had been, the warmth she felt from his smile and her own heart racing through her. She turned around and managed to make it to the foot of her bed before she collapsed onto it. Naruto, she thought, the last image in her mind being his smile, before she slowly faded into her dreams. Oh 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 oh. The next morning, Naruto woke up bright and early. Despite his tiredness from the previous day's work, he was invigorated by the thought of spending time with Hinata later. I gotta get this stuff done so I can go on that walk with her. Naruto thought. He was still unsure of his feelings for the Hyuga heiress, but he still wanted to be around her. She was the only one Naruto didn't keep up his tough guy facade. He could be himself around Hinata, and she wouldn't reject him. As Naruto worked, he thought back on all the times he and Hinata had been together. The Chunin exams, hunting for the Baikochu beetle, their trip to the land of vegetables, teaming up with her and Kiba, and hunting the three tails. He smiled as he remembered how strong she had become, and her obvious feelings for him. He frowned as he looked back at all the clues he had completely missed. Wow, I know I don't catch on as quickly as everyone else, but man, I'm really dense. Naruto thought. A sense of guilt came over him at his ignorance. It must have hurt her when I ignored her and looked at Sakura instead. Naruto, lost in his thoughts and busy removing rubble, never saw the wooden beam that smashed into his head. What the hell was that? He shouted as he sat up. Rubbing his head, he looked over at a grinning Kiba. Whoops. Sorry about that, Naruto. Kiba said. Oh yeah, Naruto screamed, a vein on his head twitching. Then you won't mind when I do this. The Inuzuka frowned, wondering what he was talking up all the way up until the 2x4 snapped over his head. God damn it, Kiba roared, holding the back of his head. Growling at Naruto, he picked up another wooden beam, while Naruto did the same. I'm gonna get you for the dumbass. Bring it on, dog boy. Naruto yelled right back. The two swung their beams at each other, hitting on another at exactly the same time. Recovering first, Naruto's blue eyes blazed with fury. Picking up his beam, he brought it down on Kiba's head once more. However, the Inuzuka wasn't done. Mimicking Naruto, he smashed his own beam over the spiky-haired blonde's head as well. Asshole. Dog lover. Idiot. Bastard. They exchanged blows in a sick parody of Whack-A-Mole. Shikamaru, Ino, and Sakura, who had been passing by, stopped to watch as the two cursed and pummeled one another. Should we do something? Ino asked her two companions. No, with the amount of stamina those two have, they could keep this up all day. Shikamaru drawled. Besides, breaking up fights is such a drag, he whined, remembering the last time he had tried.
Hee yeah, Ino giggled. What do you think, Sakura? It's funny to watch, but I guess I should get these two idiots to stop. The last time they fought, one of the training grounds ended up destroyed. Sakura sighed, then cupped her hands to yell. Hey you idiots, she called, putting her angriest face on.
Naruto, his mind clouded with anger, swung the beam around at her voice. Shut up, ugly, he yelled, bringing the beam down on Sakura's head. As she stared at him, unfazed by the blow, Naruto and Kiba's faces slowly turned to horror as they realized what he had done. Naruto, Sakura said, killer intent radiating off her in waves. Ino and Shikamaru shared a look, and with a muttered, troublesome, they took off running. Reaching up, Sakura snapped the beam in half, then glared at the boys with fire in her eyes. You're dead, she screamed, running straight at them. A look of horror came across Kiba and Naruto, and they clung to each other and shrieked as she bore down on them. The next 5 minutes of horrendous pain could not be described to anyone. The ratings on this site do not go high enough to even begin to cover the horrors Sakura inflicted on the two. Oh 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 oh. Hinata hummed happily as she thought about her plans for later. Naruto wants to spend time with me. It's almost like a date. She blushed lightly and squealed at the last thought, but she was interrupted by a commotion outside. Come on, keep up that pressure. We can't let the internal bleeding get any worse. Prepare one of the operating rooms and get the Hokage. We're gonna need all her skill to keep this one alive. Dear God, what did they do? Hinata, curious as to what could warrant such concern, got off her bed and walked over to her door. Peeking through the opening, she gasped and flung open the door. Naruto, Kiba. The brunette looked at her teammate in love with tears as they were wheeled past. Naruto and Kiba looked worse than she had ever seen. Their bruised and bloody bodies were splayed out on gurneys, and the doctors and nurses around them were very serious. She watched with tears flowing down her face, and was completely unaware of the picket coming up behind her. Hinata, you should go check out now, Sakura said in an emotionless voice. I know you're concerned for them, but they'll be fine. I made sure of it, she added with a dark look on her face. The Hyuga heiress, scared by her friend's anger, merely nodded as she walked past. However, curiosity got the best of her, and as Ino ran past in her nurse's uniform, Hinata reached out and grabbed her by the arm. Ino, what happened to Naruto and Kiba? She asked. Listen, I don't have time to, Ino began, but stopped as she saw tears in the pale lavender eyes. Look, Kiba and Naruto were fighting about something, and Sakura got mad when she got hit in the middle of it, so she, well, you know her. With that, she took off down the hall, shouting instructions to the nurses. Hinata sighed, wondering what would happen to her and Naruto's date. Despite her concern over his condition, she couldn't help being disappointed that they wouldn't be able to spend time together. She went back into her room, grabbed all of her things, and then checked out of the hospital. As she walked back to the area where the Hyuga tents were, she had a sudden idea pop into her head. Smiling at the thought, she ran home and got ready. Oh. Man, I wish Hinata would come by, Naruto complained to himself, staring up at the ceiling above his hospital bed. I'm right here, Naruto, Hinata's voice purred. Naruto shot to a sitting position, only to find himself face to face with a scantily clad Hyuga girl. Hinata, what are you? Just sit back and relax, she whispered in his ear, pushing him back onto his bed. Naruto just stared into her pale lavender eyes, shocked at her newfound confidence. Hinata, he began, only to be silenced when she pressed her lips to his. Naruto, taken completely by surprise, backed away from her, pressing his back against the wall. Naruto, she said, beginning to blur. Gasping, Naruto bolted upright, taking in his surroundings. He was still in his hospital bed, but Hinata was gone. Standing by his bed, Sakura looked at him, puzzled at the expression on his face. Naruto, are you okay? She asked, concerned at his sleep mutterings. Wah, Naruto said, his mind still racing from his dream. It was a dream. Now I'm dreaming about her. Dreaming about who? Sakura asked, a sly smile slowly appearing on her face. No one. Naruto said, staring at his sheets with a bright crimson blush on his face. Okay Naruto. Sakura giggled, knowing exactly what he was dreaming about. Anyway, I came to check up on you. Are you okay? Any pain or dizziness? She inquired, slipping into her professional mask. No, I'm fine Sakura, he said, waving her concerns away. Can I go now? I kinda had something important to do this afternoon. No Naruto, you can't. You have to stay here overnight so we can watch you. Just because you're healed on the outside doesn't mean you're okay on the inside. She said sternly. And no sneaking out for ramen. Otherwise, I'll make sure you have to stay another night. Sakura cracked her knuckles to get her point across. Yeah, sure Sakura, whatever you say. Naruto stammered, recalling the vicious beatings she had given him earlier. Good. Now I'm going to check on Kiba. Just stay in bed, and I'll bring your food by later. She said as she walked out of the room. With a sigh, Naruto flopped back onto his bed and put his arms behind his head. Thinking about Hinata, he tried to get the dream out of his head, but it was impossible. I guess this what I get for having Kakashi-sensei and Pervy Sage teach me. He thought resignedly. Still, I never had these types of dreams about anyone else before, so why Hinata? Naruto had never had these types of dreams before, not even about Sakura, so why now? Maybe I do really like her.
Naruto's thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door, and a delicious smell wafting through the air. Drooling, he shouted, "Come in." Hello and Naruto, Hinata stuttered as she entered. In her hands she had a wrapped box, which was the source of the smell. "Are you feeling better?" she asked. "Yeah, I feel great, Hinata," he said, smiling at the Hyuga. "But how did you know I was here, at the hospital I mean?" "Well, IW was still in my own room when I saw you and Kiba. I had to leave the hospital, but I came back to see how you were doing," Hinata explained, mentally patting herself on the back for not stuttering through most of the explanation.
"Thanks, Hinata," Naruto said, his grin returning. However, his face dropped a little as he remembered their prior engagement. "Oh crap, Hinata, I'm sorry I wasn't there to walk with you. I was, well, you know. It's okay, Naruto, I understand." Hinata smiled. "I know that Sakura has a really bad temper." Naruto was relieved by her acceptance of his apology. Sniffing, he drooled at the smell of the box she was carrying. "Hinata, did you bring me ramen?" She giggled at the expression on his face. "Yes, I got some from Mr. Tuki for you. He said for you to get better soon." Hinata had stopped by the old man's temporary ramen stand on her way to the hospital. Upon hearing it was for the hero of the leaf and his best customer, he had given it to her for free. Hinata had protested and tried to pay for it, but he had been adamant. Naruto cheered at the announcement. "Hinata, you're the best." She blushed at his words, and quickly handed him the box. Before she could step away, Naruto grabbed her hand. "Come on, Hinata, sit down and let's talk. We didn't get to walk together, so now's a good time." Blushing even deeper, Hinata nodded her head vigorously, not trusting herself to speak. She let out a small squeak, however, when Naruto pulled her onto his bed. Hinata turned even redder as she sat on the bed, and struggled not to faint at the mere thought of being in the same bed as him. Naruto, unaware of her internal struggle, scarfed down the ramen in 30 seconds flat. He wiped his mouth and grinned at Hinata, placing the bowl on the bedside table. Naruto, still somewhat oblivious to Hinata's furious blush, sat next to the shy Hyuga on the edge of his bed. "Hey Hinata, do you mind if I go take a shower real quick? I still kinda stink from all the work earlier, and I know you don't want to smell that," he said, self-conscious of his smell. At the mere thought of Naruto taking a shower, with only a single door separating them, all the blood in Hinata's body went straight to her head, and she fainted. "Hinata, wait. Don't faint. Damn it, what did I say?" Naruto shouted, concerned by her sudden collapse. Holding her head in his lap, he gently shook her, then smiled with relief as she woke up. "Hey, I guess I shouldn't have mentioned something like a shower around you, huh?" Despite the close proximity, Hinata didn't blush. She smiled softly at him, and unconsciously snuggled closer to him. Pale lavender eyes met bright blue, and they merely stared at each other as Naruto ran his fingers through her midnight blue hair. "Wow, she really is cute." Naruto looked deep into her eyes, seeing every part of her for the first time, her entire life reflected in the gaze she was giving him. Neither one had felt this kind of connection before, and while Hinata felt her love for Naruto grow even more, he was unable to comprehend his feelings for the girl in his lap. Gently removing her head from his lap, Naruto distanced himself from her, trying to get used to the new feelings he had. Hinata, initially hurt by his actions, was immediately worried at the blank expression on his face. "Naruto?" she asked hesitantly. Whoa crap. Sorry Hinata. I didn't, mean to, Naruto trailed off, gathering his thoughts. "Listen, I'm just a little confused, that's all. I know that you love me, but I just don't really know how I feel about you yet." "You like Sakura, right Naruto?" she said. She knew about the blonde boy's feelings for his teammate, and while it hurt, she just wanted to see him be happy. No. Well, I thought I did. Naruto said slowly. When I came back from my training with Pervy Sage, I thought I would be really happy to see her again. But I guess it had just been a little kid crush. I love Sakura, but more like a sister now. Despite Naruto's obvious discomfort, Hinata couldn't help but cheer at his words. With his feelings for Sakura clear, she hoped that he would return her feelings for him. Naruto, for his part, was still extremely uncomfortable. Despite the fact that what he said was true, it still hurt him. He had only had feelings for one other person in his life, and it had been Sakura. It had hurt him every time she had ignored him and turned to Sasuke, even though he acted like it hadn't, and finally coming to the realization that he no longer had feelings for her made his heart wrench. This pain was dispelled when he looked over at the girl sitting beside him, and he smiled at how easily she made him feel better. Hinata and Naruto continued to talk and laugh late into the night until Sakura came in and, mindful of the fact that she was interrupting, told them that visiting hours were over. She left the room quickly, allowing Hinata and Naruto some privacy to say goodbye.
So, do you want to go do something tomorrow, Hinata? Naruto asked hopefully. Seeing the hopeful look in his bright blue eyes, and happy that he still wanted to spend time with her, Hinata smiled at him. Of course, Naruto. Grinning at her, he said his goodbye, promising to meet her near her tent after he got out of the hospital. Hinata walked out of the hospital with the biggest smile she had ever had. Her happiness stemming from a certain orange-loving shinobi. Said shinobi looked out the window of his hospital room and the departing girl, and he felt the same strange feeling in his stomach. Frowning at the unfamiliar sensation, he quickly shook it off and, walking over to his bathroom, took a long shower. Later, he fell asleep quickly, dreaming about a certain blue-haired Hyuga heiress. The world was gray, wet, and held no hope for Naruto Uzumaki. Staring at the camp from a distance, he struggled to deal with the bottomless despair he felt himself spiraling down into.
After the battle with Pain, Lady Tsunade, the fifth Hokage of the Leaf Village, had slipped into a coma from overexerting herself. Desperate to find a leader, the village elders and Fire Daimyo had replaced Tsunade with Danzo Shimura, a militant ninja who believed swift destruction was the best course for every minor threat. Danzo, after learning from the fourth Raikage of the village hidden in the clouds that Sasuke had kidnapped their Jinchuriki, Killer Bee, had put out a kill order on the rogue Uchiha. He was now a part of the Akatsuki, and he was to be killed on sight by any shinobi who came across him. At the news, Naruto felt himself give in to despair. His best friend, his brother, was slipping further and further into darkness, and Naruto couldn't see any way to reach him. Sakura, still deeply in love with Sasuke, had taken the news just as badly. She sat at the base of the tree Naruto was leaning on, sobs racking her body. Naruto, what are we going to do? She choked out. How cc can we rescue him now? The blonde looked over at his pink-haired teammate, trying to find a way to stop her tears, but he couldn't, not with his own sadness threatening to overtake him. Seeing Sakura struggling with her own feelings sent a pang through his heart, and despite wanting to comfort the distraught Kunoichi, he merely shook his head and walked away. Oh. Handing out fresh water with her teammates, Hinata Hyuga struggled with her own sadness. She had been with Naruto earlier that morning when Danzo's proclamation had reached them, and the look of pure sadness in his blue eyes had almost been too much for her. Seeing the one she loved in such pain had hurt the Bluenet, and while the Kunoichi had wanted to comfort him, he had walked away before she could do anything. She sighed at her inability to do anything for Naruto, but her thoughts were interrupted by the Jonin in front of her. Is everything alright, Hinata? Kakashi asked. He had a fairly good idea of what she was thinking, and he had noticed how much time the Hyuga heiress and Naruto had spent together over the last week. Well, Hinata began. It's about Naruto, isn't it? Kakashi interrupted. Look, he needs some help. This is the most discouraged I've ever seen him, and I know you two are close. Why don't you go find him? Hinata was hesitant, but the encouraging look Kakashi gave her helped make up her mind. She returned the empty tray to the mess tent, then took off towards the training grounds. Oh. Naruto stood in the middle of the open field, panting heavily. His arms hung limply at his sides, the various craters and broken trees a testament to his exertions. He had let out all his emotions, the pain, sadness, and rage channeled into his training. However, the 3 wooden poles in the middle of the field remained untouched. Upon seeing them, after trying to ignore the memories they were associated with, and failing, his depression had returned full force. Sasuke, why are you doing all this? Naruto was unable to comprehend why his teammate was slipping further away each day, and how he was going to bring him back from the edge. Naruto just stood there, letting the rain soak into his very being. He didn't even move when he heard the soft footsteps behind him, or the patter of rain on the umbrella. Hinata held to umbrella over Naruto in a useless attempt to ward off the rain that had already seeped into his clothes. She glanced at his face, and seeing the pain written on it, she grabbed his hand. At first Naruto didn't budge, but when her pale lavender eyes met his, he relented and moved under the cover of the large tree near the poles. Hinata said nothing as she pulled Naruto under the tree, determined to snap him out of his depression. She said nothing as he sat down at the base of the tree, staring vacantly off into space. The Hyuga girl merely moved next to him and sat down, putting her arm around his shoulder. Naruto, Hinata said softly after several minutes, trying to break through to him. It was here, Yano. Naruto spoke, his voice carrying the depths of his sadness. This was the place where Team 7 had its first training exercise. We had to get 2 bells off of Kakashi-sensei's belt. Hinata didn't say anything, sensing that he just needed someone to listen. I thought I was so good, I challenged Kakashi-sensei to a fight. I thought I could beat him all by myself, that I didn't need help from anyone. Well, I ended up trapped in this tree, then tied to this post. As Naruto spoke, he stood up and shuffled over to the middle post, smiling sadly. Hinata simply followed him, content to listen to his story. I always acted out, always acted tough, always thought I could do things alone. But when I lost, I realized that I couldn't do anything on my own, that I needed people to help me. Then I thought, who would help me? I have no friends, no family, no one who cares. I know I had Iruka-sensei, but still. Hearing his confession, tears started to appear in Hinata's eyes. Those words caused her heart to clench, and she recalled all the times she had seen Naruto alone, with no one around. Her pale eyes met his blue ones as he turned to look at her. I know that you always cared, Hinata, and you just couldn't express it, and I was too much of an idiot to notice. The blonde chuckled softly before becoming solemn once more. But back then, I didn't notice, so I thought I was alone. But then, Sasuke offered me his food. It may have been because he knew what it was like to be alone, or it could have been that he didn't want me to drag the team down. The reason didn't matter. The fact is, he was the first person to ever offer me any help at all. Because of him, I finally had friends. He reached out to me, helped me when I needed it most. He became my brother, and I swore that I would always be there for him. As he spoke, tears rolled down Naruto's face, and he began to sob. Hinata stepped forward and wrapped her arms around his shoulders. While he didn't return her hug, Naruto stopped sobbing, calming slightly at her touch. Despite the pain he felt, a warm feeling blossomed in his chest. But he still wasn't finished. He needed to share his feelings with someone, and Hinata was the only one he trusted besides Iruka. Despite what I said, I admired Sasuke. He was always so good at everything, no matter what it was. I struggled to catch up, and, for a while, I thought I had. I was the happiest I had ever been. I had friends, I was strong, everything was perfect. But then he left, and I realized I wasn't strong at all. I wasn't strong enough to break through to him, I wasn't strong enough to bring him back. And now, I'm not even strong enough to stop him from dying, because now every ninja is going after him, and I can't stop it. Naruto wrapped his arms around Hinata's lower back, and he buried his face in her shoulder. He cried harder than he ever had before, sobbing into her soaked jacket. Hinata just held him, placing a hand in his wet blonde hair. Her own tears were falling freely, as she shared the pain that Naruto was going through. After several minutes, Hinata's tears died down, and she found her voice. Naruto, the blue-haired Hyuga began, you are strong. Because of you, everyone in the Leaf Village is alive, and we can rebuild our home. You will find a way to bring Sasuke back, I know it. Naruto, still burying his face into a shoulder, continued to cry. I still wasn't strong enough to stop pain, or stop you from getting hurt. Because I was weak, you nearly died for me. That's not true, Naruto. Hinata stated softly. I wanted to protect you, and I would do it again. Remember, I promised I wouldn't let him hurt you anymore. And I never go back on my word, because that is my ninja way. Naruto finished. His tears stopped, and he loosened his embrace as he pulled back to look Hinata in the eye. I told you, I heard you the first time. You don't need to say it again. Pale lavender eyes met bright blue, and for the first time, Hinata didn't see a spark in Naruto's gaze. He always had a certain twinkle in his eyes, one that embodied all of his determination, all of his strength, all of his resolve. And right now, that spark was dying right in front of her, being replaced by what appeared to be a cold anger. I know why you did it, Hinata, and I'm happy you did. But I can't even keep my own promises, so how can I do something so hard? How can I forgive people and understand them, if all they do is hurt people? Naruto whispered, his eyes glazing over. Naruto, you forgave Pain for what he did, so you can forgive anyone. But I didn't forgive Pain, Hinata. I couldn't. I understood him, but I could never forgive him for what he did to our village. He ranted, before adding in a softer tone, for what he did to you. Hinata's eyes glistened with tears. She was touched by his concern, and it made her heart sore that he cared as much as he did, but she truly wanted him to be happy, to go back to the Naruto that she knew and loved. So she told him about her mother. You know, I almost hated my little sister. Hinata said softly. Naruto's eyes widened in disbelief, but she continued. When mother died, I was so sad, and so angry that she was gone, that I wanted to blame someone. I hated Hanabi, quietly and without anyone knowing, but I hated her. Then, in a dream, I recalled how kind my mother was to someone who had called me weak and worthless, and how effortlessly she forgave him. I realized that if I wanted to be strong, truly strong like my mother, I had to be able to forgive people. So I forgave Hanabi, and I forgave Neji for the Chunin exams, and I forgave father for never believing in me.
Her soft hand let go of his hair, moving to caress his cheek. Naruto was struck speechless at the thought of her hating someone, so Hinata continued to speak to him.
I know you'll be able to bring Sasuke back, because you always keep your promises. Neji used to be so bitter and angry at the main branch, and he felt that there was nothing he could do to change. But you, Naruto, you made him see that he could change. Your strength and conviction changed him completely, and now he acts like the brother I never had. So if you can change Neji, then I truly believe that you can change Sasuke and bring him back to the village. Naruto simply stood there, letting the downpour wash over him as he held Hinata. He resumed holding her tightly, and she leaned her head on his chest, confident that she had gotten through to him. After several minutes, Naruto pulled back once more, clutching her hand tightly in his. Hinata was overjoyed to see that the spark was back in his eyes. Her words struck a chord deep within Naruto, and his trademark determination and willpower came flooding back. Along with his confidence, Naruto once again felt warmth blossom in his chest for the girl whose hand he was holding, and he smiled as he began to figure out what he felt. Hinata, I promise you, I will get stronger, and I will find a way to bring Sasuke back, and I will not let anyone hurt you ever again. Naruto declared. He enveloped her in a brief, crushing hug for a moment before whispering into her ear. Thanks, Hinata. Let's go. I've got to ask Kakashi-sensei something. Hinata simply smiled at him, happy that she had been able to break her love out of his depression. Pulling out of the embrace, Naruto clasped Hinata's hand in his, and started to walk back to the village. She simply followed, marveling at how strong and warm his hand was as it wrapped around hers. Naruto made it about 20 feet before his knees started to wobble and his vision blurred. Shaking his head, he continued to shuffle through the rain, a concerned Hinata following closely. They made to the tree line before Naruto's legs finally collapsed. Naruto! Hinata shouted, instantly worried for him. She caught him as he fell backwards, leaning him up against a fallen tree. What happened? Are you okay? She asked rapidly, wondering why he was so exhausted. I'm fine, Hinata, he mumbled, I'm just tired as all. I guess all this training wore me out. Naruto, seeing the questioning glance she gave him, waved at the splintered, broken trees and large craters that dotted the training grounds. Comprehension dawned on her, and she quickly revised her view of the area. The massive amounts of land shifting, earth-shattering destruction around her were equaled only by the annihilation of the Leaf Village. Can you get to your feet, Naruto? Hinata asked, a slight tremor in her voice. She knew he would never hurt her or one of their friends, but the power he possessed was monstrous. If you can, I'll help you get back. Yeah, just give me a moment. Naruto said, letting out a deep breath. The blonde struggled to get to his feet, and with Hinata's help, he managed to stand. Thanks, Hinata, he grunted, throwing his arm around the Hyuga's shoulder. For everything. You don't need to thank me, Naruto, she said softly. Despite their recent contact, she still blushed as she felt his lean, muscular frame, up against her body, and the constant heat emanating from him. I did this because I love you. She mumbled quietly, but just loud enough for him to hear. Naruto's mind wondered what it meant to love someone. Is this what it means to love someone? To want to be with them, no matter what. To want to help them with everything, even if it means taking their problems as your own. Naruto continued to think about what love was, and what the midnight-haired girl who had helped him so much meant to him. He looked down at Hinata as she helped him hobble back to the village. He smiled as he noticed the blush spread on her face, and felt the same strange sensation in his stomach that had plagued him the past 2 weeks. He noticed that it seemed to happen whenever Hinata was around, or whenever he thought of her. He knew what he felt for her now, but this wasn't the time to get detracted. Frowning, he shook of these thoughts, focusing on the idea he had come up with at the training grounds. Although he was focused on his plan, he was still unable to completely rid himself of his thoughts about love, and the girl whose body was pressed up against his. Oh. Why not Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asked, frustrated by his teacher's attitude. If I can convince the Raikage to get rid of the order to kill Sasuke, then we'll still be able to save him. Kakashi sighed. His student's rash nature wasn't making it easy to explain the situation to him. As always, he thinks he can do anything if he puts his mind to it. Listen, Naruto, a 5-cage summit has been called. This is a sensitive matter, and charging off to find the Raikage won't help. I know you want to rescue Sasuke and keep your promise to Sakura, but running off won't do any good. He said patiently, used to dealing with Naruto's tantrums. But Kakashi-sensei, I know I can convince him. His brother was the one Sasuke kidnapped, right? And he was a Jinchuriki too. Kakashi frowned at Naruto's statements. He had no idea where he had gotten that information. However, because his mouth was hidden under his ever-present mask, Naruto was oblivious to his teacher's disapproval. I'm a Jinchuriki too, and he's trying to kill my brother, so I'm the only one who can convince him to stop trying to kill Sasuke. Kakashi considered what Naruto had just said. The boy made a certain amount of sense. But Kakashi shook his head as he found the one, crucial flaw in Naruto's plan. Naruto, I think that you might be able to convince the Raikage to spare Sasuke. But how are you going to find him, when he's heading for the summit right now? Naruto, however, simply smiled at his teacher. Kakashi-sensei, you and Captain Yamato are really good at tracking right. He asked with a grin. Kakashi, unsure of what the number one most unpredictable knucklehead of the leaf was going to do, merely nodded. Well, there are some cloud ninja that are here to pick up information on Sasuke, and the new Hokage's permission to hunt him down. Naruto said, proud he had come up with this plan.
Wait, how do you know this? Kakashi asked seriously.
Well, it's kinda a long story. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Flashback. What do you know about Sasuke Uchiha? The Cloud Ninja said angrily, holding her katana to Naruto's throat. Naruto stood his ground, bright blue eyes staring right back at her amber ones. He shook his head, unwilling to answer them, despite what he had said to them earlier. After he had returned with Hinata, Naruto had run into the two Cloud Ninja outside his tent. They had been asking Sakura the same thing they were asking him now, but she had refused. Angry at her lack of cooperation, the female had threatened to beat the information out of her when Naruto had intervened.
Leave Sakura alone, he stated calmly, I'll tell you what you want to know.
Oh yeah, and what makes you think you can stop us if we want both of you to tell us about him? She asked mockingly. She wore an ankle-length gray dress that possessed short sleeves, with the standard Cloud Village flak jacket over it. Her burnished, maroon hair was held back by a white bandana with the Cloud Village headband on it. She had a katana on her back, and looked seconds away from drawing it. Just leave Sakura alone, and I'll tell you everything you want to know. Naruto said once more, in the exact same tone. The woman opened her mouth to reply, but her male partner grabbed her by the shoulder. He was dark-skinned, like her, and had spiky, white blonde hair. His white headband contrasted with his dark eyes, and his mouth held a sucker. He wore a matching flak jacket, but he had a long-sleeve gray shirt on underneath, with black pants on. He shook his head calmly at his companion's angry gaze, jerking his head away from the tent village. Karui, let's just hear what the kid has to say. If we don't like it, then we can keep searching. He said in a flat tone. TCH, fine, but you had better answer out questions, Blondie. Karui said angrily. Come on, Omoi, let's see if this kid has anything worth knowing. As the three walked away, Sakura found her voice. Naruto, what are you doing? Don't worry about it, Sakura, just stay here. I'll be back later, remember, I promised you I'd bring him back. Naruto called over his shoulder, before disappearing into the forest with the two Cloud Ninja. Naruto, Sakura said quietly, in awe of her closest friend's devotion to her. Nearby, Sai had been silently watching the exchange with a neutral expression on his face. Despite Danzo's orders to watch Naruto, he found himself wanting to pursue the three, not just because he had, but because he was concerned for Naruto. Following behind, he stayed out of sight, trailing the threesome until they arrived at a cabin near the Leaf Village. I thought you were going to answer our questions. Omoi queried. I can't do that, Naruto said. I know that you are going to try to kill him, and I can't let you do that. I told this was a waste of our time, Omoi. Karui shouted angrily. This kid just lied to us to get us away from his girlfriend. She sneered. Pressing her katana against his throat, she looked at him with fury in her eyes. That Uchiha bastard killed our master, so you're going to tell us what we want to know and you're gonna do it now. Naruto looked stunned by this. He killed your master. The statement struck a chord in Naruto. He had lost Jiraiya only a few months ago. I'm sorry. The words were cut off as Karui slammed him against the wall. Omoi, still with a blank expression, explained to Naruto. Sasuke Uchiha kidnapped Lord Killer Bee, the Jinchuriki of the Eight Tails and Lord Raikage's brother. Our information says that he was wearing a black robe with red clouds on it, the uniform of the Akatsuki. Naruto's jaw dropped, and a look of horror washed across him. No, there's no way. It's true, kid. Your rogue ninja attacked our village and is a member of the Akatsuki. Now tell us where he is so we can kill the bastard. Karui shouted, becoming angrier by the second. No, Naruto said flatly. I promised that I would bring Sasuke home, and I never go back on my word. So please, give me your hatred. Take it out on me, not Sasuke.
We don't care about you, Omoi snapped. We want the Uchiha, because he needs to pay for what he's done. Don't you understand anything?
I understand perfectly. Naruto kept his emotions hidden, but the sadness in his voice was obvious. Sasuke is my brother, and I'll do anything to get him back. And I'm the Nine Tails, so I know what it's like to be attacked by the Akatsuki. So please, as Sasuke's brother, let me have your hatred. Fine. Karui exploded, tossing her katana aside and smashing her fist into Naruto's face. She punched him twice before he fell to the ground. She cocked her fist back, ready to follow him to the ground, then found herself face to face with a pale ninja who caught her fist. Please, leave Naruto alone. Sai asked calmly, his other hand poised to draw his tanto. He had been listening from the trees, but when the woman had hit Naruto he felt a sudden compulsion to act, to help his comrade. Not understanding where the urge had come from, he followed his instincts and intervened. Karui, surprised by his appearance, leapt back next to Omoi. Sai, stay out of this. Naruto wiped the blood from his nose, standing on shaky legs. Just let me take care of this. No, Naruto, I can't ignore a comrade in danger, not when I can do something to help. Sai stated flatly. I don't know why you are doing this, Naruto. I will help you, but know that I believe that Sasuke isn't worth this. He doesn't deserve your loyalty, or Sakura's. Listen to your friend, Omoi said, angry at the blonde's stubbornness. Sasuke Uchiha is a rogue ninja. He's scum. You don't owe him anything, and this loyalty is pointless. Sasuke isn't loyal to you, so why do you continue to be loyal to him? I already told you, I promised someone I would bring him back. He's lost in the darkness right now, so I need to find him and bring him back to the light. Even if it kills me. Naruto declared, and his conviction causing even Karui to stop. Amazing. He is willing to do anything for Sasuke, even die for him. Sakura, do you know what you made him promise? Are you aware of what this is doing to him? Sai thought sadly, still amazed at his friend's resolve. Then we'll just have to beat the information out of you. Omoi resolved, drawing his katana. Karui, let's do this. With that both Cloud Ninja rushed forward, killing intent radiating from each movement they made. Sai drew his tanto, ready to block any strike that they made. The two attackers closed the distance rapidly, preparing to strike, but both of them froze at the voice that rang from the trees. Stop! A woman shouted, dropping from the trees. Her blonde hair framed her face, and she wore a stoic expression on her face. Her outfit was revealing. Her sizable cleavage was shown by the low-cut shirt she wore, and her skirt was very short. Strapped horizontally across her back was a tanto, similar to Sai's. Both Karui and Omoi froze, then hastily sheathed their katana, which Karui had retrieved, before bowing to the newcomer. Our apologizes, Samui, they both said respectfully, although Karui still had a tinge of anger in her voice. Samui glared daggers at the two before turning to Naruto and Sai. I would like to apologize for the actions of my subordinates. They will be punished accordingly for attacking allied shinobi. She said, bowing to the two. It is all right, we forgive you. I'm certain this won't threaten the peace between out villages. After all, it was just a misunderstanding. Sai said politely, his usual smile plastered on his face. I see. Samui said neutrally. Again, I must apologize. We have pressing business in the village and must see to it at once. Omoi. Karui. She barked. Yes, ma'am, the two replied, standing ramrod straight. Move out, Samui ordered, and the three cloud ninja disappeared. End flashback. I see, Kakashi said thoughtfully. Well, I guess we can track them as soon as they leave the village. Just be warned, Naruto, the Raikage is not someone to speak lightly around. He has a violent temper, and can be irrational when angered. Naruto nodded. From what he had experienced with Cloud Ninja, he expected no less from their leader. He shouldered the pack he had prepared, ready to move out as soon as Yamato gave the word. I've got them, Kakashi, Yamato informed them. I planted my tracking seeds on them, they're moving away from the village now. Alright, let's go. Just remember, be prepared for a hostile reception. Kakashi warned. Both Naruto and Yamato nodded their understanding, and the three took off through the trees. Naruto was determined to change the Raikage's mind, no matter what it took. He had a promise to keep, and thanks to a shy, blue-haired girl, he had found the resolve to continue. Hinata, thanks for everything. They're right up ahead. It seems like they stopped for some reason. Yamato informed his two companions, heeding the signals from his tracking seeds. Naruto, Kakashi, and Yamato had been on the trail of the Cloud Ninja for over 2 days. Naruto was convinced that if he could talk to their leader, the Raikage, he could get him to revoke the kill order on Sasuke Uchiha. The two Jonin, even though they didn't believe his plan would work, went along with him anyway. They knew that if they hadn't, he would still pursue the Raikage, and he might not have survived the encounter. Right, Naruto, are you ready? Kakashi asked. Naruto simply nodded in response. He was so focused on his goal that nothing else even entered his mind. The three ninja flew out of the trees, scanning and assessing their environment in an instant. They were in a large clearing, and the ground was blanketed by snow. In the middle were 6 figures, the 3 they had been tracking since they left the Leaf Village, and 3 others. Upon closer examination, the 3 Leaf Shinobi knew they had reached their goal, the Raikage, A, and his 2 bodyguards for the summit, Darui and C. The Raikage was a massive man, easily 6.5 feet tall. He wore a plain white haori that was left open, revealing his bare chest. On each arm he had massive golden armguards, and a matching golden belt with a boar head carved into it. His face was no less intimidating. He had very prominent cheekbones, a blonde goatee with 2 tufts of hair above his lip, and his hair was styled into cornrows. His bodyguards were less intimidating, but equally skilled. Both wore the standard uniform of the Hidden Cloud, but C was fair-skinned, had messy blonde hair and dark eyes, while Darui was dark-skinned with shaggy pale blonde hair, and he had a massive, strange-looking sword on his back. What the hell are Leaf Shinobi doing out here? The Raikage asked gruffly. Didn't they know about the summit? At his words, Samui and her team spun around, and Karui's face darkened with rage upon seeing Naruto. What the hell do you think you're doing here, Naruto? Recognition dawned on Darui's face as he looked at Kakashi. Boss, that guy there, the one on the right, that's Kakashi Hatake. I know that, the Raikage told him roughly. So, what are you doing out here, Kakashi Hatake? You the Hokage's errand boy? No sir. Today I've come to ask a favor of you. Naruto Uzumaki of the Leaf would like to petition you. Will you hear his request? Kakashi asked. Don't you think it's bit rude? Showing up here without any notification, interrupting us on our way to the cage summit. C interjected, obvious scorn in his tone. Yes, I am aware of that, Kakashi began. Enough of this. The Raikage interrupted. You there boy, start talking. Naruto closed his eyes for a moment, ordering his thoughts, before opening them and staring at the Raikage. I want you to cancel the elimination order of Sasuke Uchiha. The shock in the air was palpable, and all of the Cloud Shinobi stared at Naruto before Karui broke the silence. What the hell do you think you're doing, Naruto? Are you still going on about that? Pretty brave, coming all the way out here and making a request like that. C stated, impressed by the boy's bravery. I didn't know how else to say. This the only way that could ask you. Naruto ranted. Sasuke is my friend. No, more than that, he's my brother. I just want to save, like you want to save your brother. Besides, I don't want Cloud Ninja or Leaf Ninja to starting killing each other in a cycle of revenge, all because of Sasuke. A thick silence came over the group. The Raikage seemed to consider Naruto for a moment, before he began walking forward. All of the Cloud Shinobi tensed as their leader moved, but he simply walked straight past Naruto and the others. Naruto turned around, surprised, before moving in front of the Raikage again. Omoi and Karui gasped at his brazen display, but the Raikage simply ignored him and moved around him again. Naruto intercepted him a third time, falling to his hands and knees. Please, I'm begging you. I don't want us killing each other for vengeance anymore. Naruto cried out. The Raikage simply ignored him once more, walking past as if he wasn't there. Sasuke has always been obsessed vengeance. At these words, the Raikage stopped walking. Vengeance changed him, it took him and changed him into someone I don't even recognize. I don't want the Leaf and the Cloud to kill each other over vengeance. And that's why, Naruto became choked up, tears running down his face. An image of all his friends appeared before him, and he saw it shatter because he failed to stop the cycle of vengeance. He collapsed into the snow, crying freely. No matter what, we will dispose of Sasuke. You all better hold your ground afterwards. The Raikage declared, unmoved by Naruto's pleas. That's right, you're a fool to think otherwise. Karui scoffed. Look, we're in a rush, so sorry, your time is up, kid. C brushed off his speech, impatient to be gone. Lord Raikage, the incident where you tried to obtain the Hyuga Byakugan is still unresolved on our part. Yamato declared, turning to other means to get the Raikage to listen to their plea. The hidden Leek village swallowed out tears of blood to avoid a war. It is because of this that your people are still alive. We were willing to go to war over the attempted kidnapping of the Hyuga heiress. Naruto, face down in the snow, suddenly stopped crying. Never forget that, Yamato warned, the threat in his tone obvious. Kakashi stepped forward, taking over for Yamato. Lord Raikage, this young man, no matter how awkward, is bowing his head with respect for both the Cloud and Leaf. As one of the 5 Kage, tell me, what do you think of this? The Raikage paused a moment before turning around and staring at Naruto. Contempt entered his voice as he looked at the boy who had prostrated himself. Shinobi should not bow before others so easily. Action and power are the only things that have meaning. Weakness and concessions are forbidden in dealings between shinobi. The Raikage shouted, angry at Naruto's ignorance of the world. He calmed himself before continuing. Mankind's history is a history of war. Ever since the Great Shinobi World Wars, all nations have collected powerful ninjutsu. The weak are trampled upon and destroyed. That is the truth of the shinobi world. At this summit we will declare the Akatsuki as wanted criminals, and not only I but the whole world will hunt Sasuke down. You bow your head for a criminal, and ask me to forgive him. All in the name of friendship. In the shinobi world, that is not friendship. Leaf brat, think more deeply on what it is you want to do. At his words, Naruto slowly stood up, keeping his back to the Raikage. This world is not so indulgent as to suffer fools. Turning, he walked away from Naruto. Let's go, he directed towards his followers. The Cloud walked after their leader. Each looked at Naruto with contempt, but he felt none of it. His eyes were still hooded by his blonde hair, and he didn't move an inch. Yamato walked over and reached out to Naruto, intending to lead him away. However, he jerked back his hand, surprise and horror spreading across his features. What did you say earlier? Naruto asked in a low tone, almost a growl. Killing intent radiated off of him, so strong it paralyzed everyone except the Raikage. He slowly turned around, eyes widening at the sight of the boy. Naruto was covered in red chakra. It slowly changed his body, lengthening his canines into fangs and his fingernails into claws. He gritted his teeth as pure hatred washed over him, and when his eyes finally snapped open, they were blood red, with slits for pupils. He turned his gaze on Yamato as the first tail formed. The hidden cloud tried to kidnap the Hyuga heiress. He growled, and image of Hinata being taken burned into his brain. On your orders, he roared, whirling to face the wreckage. The look of malevolence made even the wreckage shiver, although he didn't let it show. Yes, I ordered that the girl be kidnapped. He responded arrogantly. From what I hear, she is a weakling, and the Hyuga would have been better off without her. You son of a bitch! Naruto roared. The wreckage, while he was aware of the tailed beast cloak, hadn't anticipated that Naruto was the Jinchuriki, or how powerful his hatred could be. The wreckage believed himself to be fast enough to avoid any attack, right up until Naruto's fist connected with his jaw. The wreckage managed to grunt as he flew through the air, parallel to the ground. Naruto flashed in front of him, driving his legs into the wreckage's chest, smashing into the ground while flying up in the air. The force of the blow created a massive shockwave, crushing the earth around the impact point and sending Karui, Samui, C, and Omoi flying towards the trees. Kakashi and Yamato looked on in horror as Naruto landed at the edge of the crater, the second tail of his cloak already forming. Snapping out of his reverie, Kakashi quickly thought of a strategy to subdue Naruto. Yamato, use the sealing jutsu, Kakashi barked. I can't. He broke the necklace and undid the sealing jutsu when he fought Pain. Yamato shouted back. Damn it, I guess we're going to have to use the seals Lord Jiraiya left for us. We need to get one on him now, before he progresses any further. Kakashi said, a note of desperation in his voice as the second tail fully formed. If he reaches the third tail, then the seals won't work on him. The nine-tails Jinchuriki sat at the edge of the crater, growling as he spotted a faint blue glow. He tensed his hind legs, ready to pounce on the wreckage, but jumped backwards as the cage appeared right in front of him. Good thing I was able to activate my lightning armor, otherwise that second blow would have been the end of me. The wreckage, despite being enraged at the Leaf Brat's attack, looked at him with a newfound respect. So, the boy has some power after all. No one has been able to surprise me since the fourth Hokage. The wreckage channeled chakra into his legs, and used the body flicker technique. Grabbing Naruto's chest, he jumped high in the air, ignoring the burning in his hands from the tailed beast cloak. Liger Bomb, he shouted, smashing the boy into the ground with all of his massive strength. For the second time in so many minutes, the ground cracked, and a massive shockwave ripped through the landscape. Kakashi and Yamato, having been joined by Darui, had to channel chakra into their feet to avoid being blown away. Trees began to uproot and branches snapped from the air pressure. The wreckage peered through the smoke, trying to see whether his Liger Bomb had finished off the nine-tails container. Staring hard, he caught a glimpse of red before bringing his arms up, just in time to block the blow. Naruto's chakra, acting as an extension of his hand, scaring the metal and sending the cage flying. He cursed as he smashed through multiple trees, ending up hundreds of feet into the forest. The wreckage recovered quickly, flickering back next to Naruto. The Jinchuriki was ready for him, and blocked his blow, slashing back with his own chakra. The two exchanged blows, too fast for the eye to see, until Naruto was sent flying back from a kick to the chest. Yamato and Kakashi, who had been waiting for an opening, quickly sprang into action. Wood style. Silent strangle jutsu. Yamato's arm transformed into wood, splitting into multiple branches that wrapped around Naruto. Hurry up, Kakashi, I can't hold him for long, he warned. Naruto struggled against his bindings, and the third tail began to sprout. Kakashi sprinted forward, concentrating his chakra to increase his speed. He reached into his kunai pouch and pulled out one of the seals Jiraiya had given him for this very purpose. He slapped onto Naruto's forehead, and all the chakra surrounding him slowly drained into the seal. The wreckage looked on impassively, grunting as the tailed beast cloak receded. Deactivating his lightning armor, he made sure his pack and cage hat were still with him before setting out to look for his companions. Oh. Naruto awoke with a start, expecting to still be lying in the clearing where he spoke to the Raikage. Instead, he found himself in a small but comfortable bed in a hotel room. Confusion etched onto his face as he tried to recall what had happened. Captain Yamato said something about the Raikage trying to kidnap the Hyuga heiress, then the Raikage started going on about the shinobi world and power, then, nothing. Naruto sat on the mattress, trying to figure out what had happened, but nothing came to mind. His efforts were interrupted when Kakashi and Yamato entered the room. Ah, good, you're awake. Kakashi said, relief in his voice as he smiled at Naruto. We were worried that you weren't going to wake up soon. What do you mean? What happened with the Raikage? Why can't I remember anything? Naruto fired out, asking each question in rapid succession. Whoa, slow down Naruto, you're probably still drained from using the Nine-Tails cloak. Yamato explained. You went off when the Raikage said something about the Hyuga heiress being weak. The Raikage is fine, but it was a struggle to control you. I used the fox's chakra again. Naruto asked, disbelief and fear in his voice. You did, Naruto. We had to use one of the seals Lord Jiraiya left us in order to calm you down. Kakashi said. After the seal was placed, the Raikage and his companions left. Neither of us wanted any more fighting, so we agreed to drop it and forget about it. The Raikage assured us it wouldn't interfere with the summit, so there's no need to feel guilty. Kakashi added, worried that his student would blame himself if the summit turned sour. But, Yamato interjected, he said his decision regarding Sasuke is final. He won't stop the kill order, and he will petition the other cage to brand all Akatsuki criminals. Naruto just nodded dumbly, still processing his emotions. I went Nine-Tails after he insulted Hinata. Just the thought of her being kidnapped, Naruto shook his head, trying to dispel the terrible thoughts. Reaching down onto the floor, he grabbed his jacket. I'm gonna go outside for a bit, Naruto said sadly, try to clear my head. Yamato and Kakashi simply nodded. They sensed that the blonde-haired, hyperactive kid that had come to mean so much to them needed to be left alone. Naruto slipped outside, and he trudged through the small town. Not only did I attack the Raikage, I failed to get him to cancel the kill order on Sasuke. What am I going to tell Sakura? What am I going to tell Hinata? I promised both of them, and I still couldn't do it. Naruto felt the sadness that Hinata had saved him from start to creep back in, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. No thought could tear him from his despair. He glanced upward as a snowflake hit his nose, and he realized he was back at the small inn they were staying in. He sighed, until an unfamiliar voice jerked him from his thoughts. Hey, Toby said, his voice deep and menacing. We really should talk. Naruto, jumping at the sound, looked over at him. I remember you. You're that Akatsuki guy. Toby. You sound a lot different than last time. Naruto said, pulling out a kunai and settling into a defensive stance. What do you want? Toby laughed. So you remember me, good. As for why I'm here, Toby said, sitting on the windowsill of Naruto's room. I came here to explain the real reason behind the Uchiha clan's slaughter. I'm not listening to anything you have to say. Naruto shouted, tossing the kunai at Toby. It passed through him like he wasn't there, embedding itself in the frame of the window. Toby chuckled at his attempt. You really are stupid, aren't you? You never learn from your mistakes. Toby sighed mockingly. Naruto smirked. That's where you're wrong. Flashing his hands, he channeled chakra to the explosive tag, igniting it and blowing apart the outside wall to the room. Naruto jumped through the smoke, landing inside the room. Did I get him? He mumbled to himself. As if to answer his question, Toby appeared on the intact section of the roof. Laughing at Naruto's angry expression, he taunted him. Is that really the best you can do? At this rate you'll never bring Sasuke back. Shut up. Naruto roared, preparing to leap. However, he was stopped as wooden beams separated the two, trapping Naruto in one side of the room. Yamato burst through the door, and using his wood style, had a beam of wood wrap around Toby. Kakashi appeared from the far side of the roof, his hand crackling with electricity. Lightning cutter, he yelled, lunging forward to stab Toby in the chest. But just like Naruto's kunai, the attack passed right through the Akatsuki member, who stepped back out of Yamato's grip. Jumping atop the pillar from Yamato's jutsu, he simply gazed at the three. Relax. I'm not here to fight you. As a matter of fact, I have some information for you three. How do we know that this isn't going to be a bunch of